And welcome to the formerly known as Nerdy Agent podcast. Now 3 guys trying to figure out AI.
Woo! I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm your host, Luke Pedersen, with my brothers and fellow nerds, Josh and AJ. I always thought, we started the Nerdy Agent podcast because we were like, yeah, we're a little nerdy. I thought AJ and Josh were nerdy about economics. And then we found vibe coding, and I realized we're probably up there in the nerdiness scale. Like, gotta be at least 95th percentile out of everybody in the world, because I sit in bed at 8:30 at night now on my computer making websites.
I was telling a friend, I think it is about as addicting as anything exists out there. The dopamine hit when you type in a prompt and then something happens and it's perfect. You're like, this is.
I don't know about you guys, but I actually listened to a podcast about the podcast we're about to podcast right now. So
you made your own podcast?
Yeah, I just had a man and a woman start talking to me on Google Notebook, and they told me all.
Are they men and women?
I mean, they sound like a man, and then it sounds like a woman. They have very soothing voices.
The better question is, are we going to do a Turing test of our podcast, where we take our voices and have a release and see if people actually know that it's not us?
So we can't do that yet. Is the issue?
I know we're going to get there soon, though.
I wonder when that's got to be some proprietary deal.
Did Notebook? I asked that question this morning, you guys. Did Notebook have a slide option last week?
No, they just added it today. That's why I texted
you. So maybe next week we can just talk for 5 minutes and then have a podcast.
I have no idea. I don't know.
We'll someday we won't actually. People will know because
we'll have to display.
Well, we talk about some nonsense. I don't think the AI podcast would just be
You're kidding.
Nonsense.
You're kidding.
Absolutely, it can.
Yeah. Well,
you think that right now, all this garbage we're doing?
I told you guys I'm going to the cabin today with my family. It's a 1-hour drive. I had Google Notebook make me a 26-minute podcast that's going to connect the top 100 candies, Cinderella, best bowling tips for children, how to make your kids more grateful, and Stratomatic baseball.
Wait, we got to figure out which person picked which topic. Cinderella's Daphne. Best bowling tips for children is Brody.
Me.
That's you.
Oh,
okay.
We're going to the
Holden is Stratomatic.
Uh-huh.
Emily is how to make your kids more grateful. Or is that Brody? That was probably Brody.
That's Emily.
What was the other one?
That was Brody.
Top 100 candies.
That was Brody. They're gonna dissect it for us.
My AI scary tip of the week, though, before we end the mortgages.
Okay,
so I have to give you this. I have to give you this. I was listening yesterday about endangered species, just online. And they're talking now about how the human, we're a predatory species, and so our existence causes a lot of species to no longer exist.
Yeah, we are the predatory species.
We're the predatory species until we create a new species called robots.
If you haven't read Yuval Noah Harari, you've read Sapiens, right?
No.
Oh, it's the best.
I don't read books anymore. I'll ask ChatGPT about it.
Sapiens is the best book you can ever read. It talks about the history of humanity, all the different things. It blows your mind. It's really great. He wrote another book called it's 10 Things for the 21st Century, or it's about the next he wrote Homo Deus, which is also similar to this, but he wrote about all of the things that will be coming, and I read it 3 years ago. It's fascinating that things are starting to happen. Where he talked about the species, Homo sapien species, is likely going to split into a new species. So it's less that we're going to get taken over by something we create, but maybe the combination of humans and robotics and artificial intelligence all forming.
Unless artificial intelligence by themselves without the humans is better than the humans mixing with it. And then it's evolution.
Yeah.
It's if the robots are better than the humans mixed with robots, then the robots would be the predatory species.
Potentially.
Crazy. Nuts.
That's just Terminator. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. In other news, today we're going to talk about the hot button real estate topics, just because you should be able to talk about this. If you wanted to skip past the first part, it's too late.
If you want to get into AI with us, though, when you're a local agent,
please reach out.
I kind of think, because we're meeting weekly to talk about this, we're incorporating a lot of different things. We're actually building a lot of different things internally that we're using.
A lot of stuff.
We're trying to be very thoughtful about how we can better support our team members, our staff. It's not about replicating things. It's actually about trying to improve everything that we're doing and build the best processes for success.
Well, it's not about replicating things. It's about replicating things.
Vibe coding.
But for example, we're building a business planning thing, right? And it's all going to be web-based, and it's all going to then integrate with performance tracking, and it's all going to integrate with goal setting, and all going to come together in one beautiful package. So every agent can have a sense of how they're doing at any given time in relation to that.
Tuesday, December 2nd at 99th Avenue North in Hopkins. We have our business plan seminar. Anybody's welcome.
10 a.m. to 12.
10 a.m. to 12. We'll talk about all of that. And
You're going to see
have
that tool
a
live.
proprietary tool that's going to literally give you a business plan that you'll fill out as you go, and we'll email you a PDF or download a PDF at the end that has the business plan for 2026.
And if you join the team, you could then incorporate into your ongoing accountability tracking and performance tracking and tying it all together.
There's a lot there that we're going to be having roll out in 2026. So if you are interested, please reach out because we're doing a lot of stuff on our end. If you're interested about that, we're always willing to talk about it. But the hot button topics that have come out in the last, I'd say 2 weeks, are the 50-year mortgage.
Yep.
And they're calling them portable mortgages. So to start, just explain high level. Obviously, 50-year mortgage is pretty self-explanatory, but explain kind of what those two things are so they understand if you don't.
A 50-year mortgage is exactly what it says it is. It's a mortgage that would be paid amortized over 50 years.
Is that
30 or 15 or 10? People can do 10-year. There's adjustable rate mortgages that are 5, 7, 10. And we can get into the details on it, I guess. But portable mortgages are, you remember, didn't we have a portable hoop when we were children?
Yeah.
Portable basketball hoop.
There you go.
It's kind of like that. You just move the hoop from one house to the next house, and your mortgage goes with. So, we'll get into a deep dive on kind of what that looks like, who benefits, and who's a loser probably in some of these cases.
So starting with 50-year, then what's the push for that? What's the reason, and what would the outcomes potentially be if that actually went into play?
The reason for it is affordability. With higher interest rates, with higher prices, we've seen, this would be another podcast, but we've seen the ability for specifically first-time home buyers, younger people to buy a house become more limited. The average age of the first-time home buyer is increasing.
40 years old.
It's insane.
Yeah.
What was it 10 years ago?
Like in the 20s, I think.
The early 30s, I think. But yeah, none of us would even be at the age to be a first-time buyer.
Your first house, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I'm on my...
Or I wonder if they break that. I wonder what in Minnesota what it is.
I bet you could find it.
I guess the point more so is the world as it exists.
Find that?
Yeah, I got it.
The world as it exists today is far less affordable. So the thought is if we stretch it out over a longer period of time, then we can make the payments a little bit lower. We can try to create affordability. I think there's also, obviously, there's bias within the government to try to show that the economy is strong. And so if this went into place, theoretically, they could see a boost in housing prices because payments would come down. Affordability would theoretically improve from a monthly payment standpoint. And therefore, they could show growth in the economy is a part of it.
I think those are the only positives of a 50-year mortgage. I don't know.
It depends how you define positive.
Don't they have 100-year mortgages in Japan?
That's what I heard.
That's just renting.
Renting.
You're renting with equity.
It's worse than renting.
Renting with equity. It's interesting. I think we don't need to get. I guess we can get into.
The thing is,
that's essentially, is that not just an interest only loan?
Well, that's what I was going to get at. What's kind of interesting is you look at a lot of people who, let's say they paid $300,000 for their house, right? 8 to 10 years ago. That house is now probably worth about $500,000. And they probably owe maybe $250,000 on it. They have $250,000 on a 2.75% 30-year fixed interest rate, and they have $250,000 in equity. Let's say they were allowed to do a portable mortgage and get a second mortgage that was a 50-year mortgage. Now
we're talking about portable now. Yep.
Both. Yeah. Combine them, right?
And 50-year. Yep.
Because you have to get a second position, and this is. Again, what I've learned in researching this is the portable mortgage concept is going to be extremely difficult to execute on. And a big reason why, and that we've talked about on this podcast, is these mortgages don't all just live by themselves. They all get bundled up into these huge tranches and they've been invested in. And there's bond markets that rely on these mortgages to stay the way they are. And if you just move it to a new house, it completely changes the profile of what that is, right? That buyer now is reapplying for a new loan. They're probably in a different situation than they were before. So the rating of that loan is now changing and they're moving it. So what happens to that mortgage-backed security?
Or theoretically, they're not moving it, but they're making up the difference in cash so as to just get a new house. You have to tie a new house to the same.
That would be the only way.
But the loan still is moving to a new spot. So it's
New property.
and it's a brand new profile for that borrower now, because they're gonna, unless they don't have to reapply to do it, I suppose that makes
Cash, yeah.
just cash difference, but still you're moving it to a new spot. And so, a house in Minnetonka is going to have a different credit profile rating than a house in St. Louis Park or Minneapolis or Woodbury or Chicago. Like, they're all of these features go into the box, I'm pretty sure, when they actually bundle these.
I don't think anyone even knows what the features are at this point, but my understanding is that the portable concept would be like, okay, I bought a house for 300, I owe 200 on it now. I'm going to buy a house for 600
And bring 4.
I would just have to make up whatever the difference is between my current balance and the new price in cash.
Or you just get a second loan.
Which would then, though, be essentially the equivalent of cash.
Right.
But that new loan would have to be funded by somebody other than the primary. The primary would just stay exactly the same.
Or do the primary borrowers start to get creative and blend the two rates together and say, I'm still making money on the 275 based on when I got that money. Now I'm going to be getting 7% for 6.
I think that
There's no way you're getting market on the second.
The
You're
complication,
going to get 9.
the complication associated with a blended profile is going to be far more than I think any bank is going to want to issue off.
No. They'll just run their algorithm and they'll go, I'll give you a second. Market rate 7, we'll do it for 11. That's what happened.
And you got 5 though, maybe.
Yeah, you get a little
5.5. But I think that the fundamental problem in what I've researched is the bond market. It's the fundamentals
100%.
issue, because this loan was associated with this property and now you're just moving it to a new one. You can't really do that without it being a portfolio product. Like a portfolio product, like our commercial loans that we have on some of our rental properties, we're paying that bank every month and they're servicing that loan. They're taking the money and the interest, and they gave us money at the beginning. And so then now we're paying them. In that case, if they would allow us to move that money to a new property, that wouldn't be a very complicated concept. They would just make sure that it made sense for the new one. And they could allow that if they wanted to, probably.
We've done stuff similar.
But now that it's been sold and now it's getting serviced it's in a new state or it's in a new city, and now it's a completely different deal. And all these bonds are already invested in by people. They're already expecting a return on what they're getting. And
Yes.
to be able to assess the risk of those.
Well, what happens if you don't pay the second mortgage, but you pay the first?
If you don't pay, they can foreclose on you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the risk factors change.
But whoever's giving you the second is in second position too. So then there's also a component there where they would want a much higher rate in second.
It's a whole.
I did find the evidence suggests that the typical first-time home buyer in Minnesota is likely closer to their early to mid 30s. We are the top state for young buyers.
Oh, there you go. That's a fun fact.
Realtor.com has ranked Minnesota the #1 state for young home buyers.
Wow.
50% of people in Minnesota under the age of 35 already own a home.
So if you're one of those out-of-state listeners, send your clients our way. We'll find them their first home, because if they can't afford it in your state, they probably can in ours.
Yeah. And if you're in Minnesota and you're talking to first-time home buyers, I don't know, you could slip down in there. That's a fun one.
Fun fact.
Looks like an expert.
My biggest struggle with both of these concepts is the general and the way they're being talked about, not just politically, but I'm saying like Facebook posts by other real estate agents that I see. I think they're really focused on self-interest versus on a broader interest of the marketplace and people and humanity in general. The 50-year mortgage concept, I like the thought of that as they're having options is usually good for buyers, right? So if a buyer has more options, that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because you could say when the 30-year was created, the 15-year was the option, and now we're doing the same thing, right? But the impact to people that have not bought a house yet is actually probably pretty negative to create this as an option. If you can figure out the right way to house hack or something, there might be benefit there, but your amortization schedule, so say like a $300,000 mortgage, I have it written up here, your monthly payment, assuming a slight variance in rates between 30-year and 50-year, would go from like $1,530 to $1,294. So you'd save about $250 a month, which is not a small amount of money. But your interest over the course of that loan would go from $387,000 on a 30-year to $765,000.
Almost doubles. And before we continue, I need to add, because Josh just did my favorite new activity.
What?
You just did my favorite new thing to do. You went to Google and then talked to Gemini.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Could have just also went to Gemini.
I could have just went
But
to
instead,
Gemini.
you went to Google and then you got Gemini.
That's right.
Sometimes I talk to Gemini and I'm like, this isn't working very well. I'm going to Google it. And then I just talk to Gemini via Google.
It's the same
thing.
thing.
Why did I do that?
The other piece to it is, like, if you think about this, if you bring payments down, you're likely going to see house prices go up. So not only now have you created a product that's going to cause the prices to go up in the marketplace, they're going to go up for the people that are already struggling with affordability. Those people's monthly payments will go down, but their ability to build equity, wealth, long-term benefit by owning a house is going to go down significantly because they're not going to be paying on the principal the same way.
And you know what? My favorite my podcast generated today gave my favorite line, which is the article that it read for me argued that we do not have a demand problem. Correct. We also don't have a move up buyer problem. So portable mortgages are designed to solve for lower price homes, people in them moving up and buying higher price homes. The 50-year mortgage is designed to then backfill and say, we're going to have all these first time buyers that are going to be able to buy these first time price point homes, right? The ultimate reality there is a chain of events that happens in prices. And this is what we see every year when markets shift, right? We move from price point to price point, and you don't see the higher end of the band have all the demand until further into the year because they have to sell a house in order to buy a house. And so usually you'll see them move up the price brackets throughout like the spring. Let's say like your first time buyer price points get like extremely busy in January, right? And then it moves up the price brackets. At the end of that chain of events, there has to be a house.
Yep.
Okay. There has to be a house, right? So the first time buyer buys their house, then they go and they buy an $800,000 house. Where's the $800,000 buyer going? You move this chain of events. There has to be a house at the end. The issue is not the move up buyers and the first time buyers. It's that the builders have been building far fewer homes. We're building under 1 million homes in the United States in 2025. It's one of like the lowest marks. I didn't look and see what on the index, how that looked. One thing I read that said that the housing market is going to improve without any of these products because they believe that we are going to see a 5 to 10% increase in new construction.
What does improve mean?
Starts, more starts.
More starts.
We're seeing more starts right now, and you're seeing that swing up. And I had a client send me a video that talked about we're going to have over 1 million starts next year, and they think that it's going to be even higher in 2027, and that's what's going to get the housing market moving. Because at the end of the day, in this chain of events with buyer, seller, there has to be a house at the end, and it's probably going to be a new construction house because it's going to be at a price point here locally that's $700 to $1.5 million, and that person there has to be a net one positive house at the end of the chain of events.
Yep.
Otherwise, none of this matters. To Josh's point, it's just going to increase the values of all the houses because there's not enough of them.
But it's going to if it benefits anyone, it's probably like the three of us, right? We own houses. We've benefited from having the low rate environment of the COVID years where the rates went down, you can lock in rates. And then we benefited from all of the equity growth that happened during that 5-year window. So you have people that have gained wealth from owning a house during a window where appreciation was rampant and are locked in at low rates. And then theoretically, the portable mortgage, they get to keep that rate, even though they've already gained all of the benefits of owning a house during that time frame. And the people who don't benefit and are going to get hurt are the ones who already are hurt by the fact that they can't buy their first house.
And they can sell it to them. They have a 50-year mortgage, so they can pay more for it. They'll make more money.
The price will go up. Their interest rates will go up. Everything will go up. And you're not helping the people who need help with either of these products. And that's what I was saying. The concept of self-interest is really frustrating to me in this because the people who we're actually trying to make products for would lose both of these products. And the people if you're a real estate agent and be like, I think this is a game changer. It could open up the ability for you to sell your house. You're coming from a place of self-interest. You're saying, I want more people to sell their house that are stuck at these 3% interest rates that don't want to move because they're stuck. I want more activity in the market because that helps me. But the reality is you should be thinking more broadly about the market in terms of like what is actually good for people and humanity and all those.
I've been saying for 5 years, the only way to solve the affordability issue is to somehow subsidize to sell or to build.
You have to do build though. There's got to be more houses.
You got to subsidize the builders then. There's got to be something but they also have to be at affordable price points.
I think
you've got to be able to build a less than $500,000.
And this brings up another concept that we've talked about, that in states like Minnesota, regulation is extremely high on new construction. The price is extremely high. It's okay, but it lends to prices being higher and higher and higher and higher. And when you have certain companies, I'm not going to name, that control certain parts of the market and have all of the money in the R&D, and there's how much they're going to build. They can choose, that product, I'm going to go lobby the National Code Book and get my stuff included in here. And you can see how that adds 1,000 here and 2,000 here and 3,000 here. And all of a sudden, Lennar can't build a house in Chanhassen School District for less than $750,000, and they're just panel building the entire thing. I mean, you've got to find a way to make it cheaper.
You got to make it cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah, there's gonna be natural to just things that happen when the market, like the whole capitalistic reality of how things work. I do think there is a little bit of an opportunity for more supply to hit the market via investors. And I think a lot of folks that gobble up homes during the COVID years that did really well may be looking at that a little differently now, depending on how they did it or what they did. But like these large swaths of single family homes that got bought up by these investor groups, they may not be as profitable of assets.
I mean, there was either someone in the House or the Senate like 4 years ago. I kind of talked about that. I brought it up on our podcast at one point. That offered a bill that would eliminate capital gains tax for up to 5 properties per entity. So why like almost like what's the opposite of a moratorium? Like a 1-year thing. It's you
sell down to 5.
It's an incentive. You can sell 5. No, you can sell up to 5. Up to 5 properties
a year
or 12. It was like a what they were. I think they were trying to do like a 1-year thing. You could sell 5 properties, no capital gains tax.
That's genius.
Well, it would again, it would solve for the home ownership problem, right? Mm-hmm. It does not solve for the supply problem necessarily.
It does something though.
It does something.
It's a net 1 for every one of those.
Yes, for home ownership. So what you would see is a lot of the renters that are in properties like ours, let's say, they would be buying instead of being rented.
We still need more houses on the supply.
We still need additional actual sticks on dirt.
Sure, yes.
But
that would do something.
It would increase, yes, it would increase the inventory.
That would certainly incentivize us.
Yeah, I think the market, generally speaking, is incentivizing us, right?
Yeah, and that was a great bill because it was like we're not going to allow them to sell all of them because then these large institutional ones would just sell all of them,
get away with taxes.
Well, and that could be a massive supply shock to the real estate market. Too much, right? So if you just said 5, you could calculate how many that would be possibly, and then if all of them sold 5, you could determine what is that going to do? Is that really bad for the market?
How many more listings would it be? Yeah.
But right now we have a ridiculously low supply. I mean, I got into real estate 12 years ago. We had twice as many homes on the market as we have now, and it was still competitive.
But we're up a lot from the COVID years. We're starting to move in a better direction.
We're up probably 50%, but we're up from, a rolling average of 6,000 to like 9,000, but when I got into real estate, it was 20,000. Mm-hmm. And it was still a market where there was multiple offers sometimes. So we have a long way to go in terms of the number of homes. I mean, if you look at a million homes being built in the United States, you divide that by 50, it's an average of 20,000 homes per state, right? So even if you went up by 50%, maybe 10,000 more new construction homes throughout the year, that would bring us to a supply that's roughly close to what it was 12 years ago. So there's almost not a number that builders could do. I think it's just you're finding that the ability of home buyers to buy them at $800,000 for a national built house is just really tough. I mean, you've got to be able to build these houses for $500.
Yeah,
especially at the current rates. So unless the rates come down, the builders are just going to hold back inventory, and they're going to slowly, hopefully, tick.
Well, they're afraid. They're afraid of an economic issue.
Mm-hmm. Just to get to the wrap here, it sounds like none of us believe. I caveat this. I personally believe that the issue is affordability, and if the goal is to create better affordability, these are bad ideas.
The 50-year, I mean, it does create quote unquote affordability, right?
It creates an option.
Short term.
It's not bad to have options. I don't think it's bad to have options necessarily, right? I don't think that's going to kill the market. I don't think prices are going to go up like 10%. You'd see more appreciation than we have right now.
I think so long as it's communicated in a way where buyers are aware of what they're getting into.
And they will not be.
Well, and I think you talked about that. Did it pull up an amortization schedule for you? Because in the first 10 years on that exact example Josh gave, I don't think that you pay $10,000 in principal payments.
You would have gotten in 10 years $9,920 towards.
So when you look at that,
is that factoring in that your interest rate's going to be higher?
6.87 versus 6.57.
So there you go. So
Gemini's pretty smart, right?
And so you look at that and you go, like I'm paying right now on my 15-year mortgage, I pay almost $3,000 in principal a month. Mm-hmm. So I'm paying $36,000. That person's going to get a net benefit in the first year of like $400, I think, or $500 on a 50-year mortgage. If you waited the normal time frame for a first-time buyers, 5 to 7 years prior to sell their house, they would only get the appreciation in the market, and then now they have to pay potentially commissions and fees and title charges.
You start to find zero net equity benefit.
It's tricky. I mean, we're already having this happen with a lot of, I'm in conversations with agents on the team all the time about, hey, I sold this house 2 years ago and they're getting divorced or something's happening, they have to sell it. And we look at it and we go, we're back to getting 3 to 4% a year. So if they overpaid at all, they haven't paid enough down because their interest rate's so high. So the amortization speeds up. The amount of principal you're paying is so much greater.
Yep.
Because the amount of interest you pay over the whole loan is so much less when the rate is lower. And so when you look at those situations where it's 6.5 and they've been there 2 years, it's like they don't have any equity there.
100%.
That's all we have this week on the Nerdy Agent Podcast, or the Three Guys Learning About AI podcast.
Sponsored by Box Dwell Cards.
Got my shirt on.
Box Cards. Check them out on Instagram. And as always, remember, better.
Bye.